Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary, and this is not David. So, work's been pretty busy for David, and so he's been focusing on that. So I told him I would take care of the videos for Friday and Saturday. So here comes Saturday's video. It's Friday. It is 6:30 in the evening on March 28th. So recently, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, I really like that guy. I have to admit, tip of the hat to the Canadians. You really have some good people there to lead your country, right? He came out and said Canada's relationship with the United States is over, and Canada will make preparations to drastically reduce its reliance on the United States. Normally, you would expect Trump to double down like he normally does. Put tariffs on top of his tariffs, or put some sort of weird income tax on foreigners who live abroad. To borrow one from Monty Python, right? But in this case, Trump backed down, and he cowered. He's just basically, after the prime minister came out with that statement, the next day Trump picks up the bat phone and calls him and comes out on Truth Social saying, "Oh, we had this really good conversation, and we're going to get together and discuss a whole bunch of things after the election, and we agree on a lot of things, blah, 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 blah." And it was a complete reversal of direction from Trump's, normal shenanigans, calling Canada the 51st state and calling the prime minister the governor of Canada, and just basically being this, obnoxious, provocative jerk that he normally is. Now all of a sudden he's backing down, so that's kind of weird. So I want to take a look at the energy between Prime Minister Mark Carney and Trump and see what's going on there. And then maybe we'll ask, why did Trump back down? And then will the EU learn any strategies and tactics from this? And before I keep going, the video that came out today was about Greenland and how the United States, Trump, wants to buy Greenland. Come on, I'll be your best friend. Come on, join the United States. One of the things that I wanted to mention that I failed was that, it's like Putin came out in support of the United States getting Greenland. And it's just like, okay, why does Putin want the United States to have Greenland? I can think of a couple reasons. One is that, Putin's basically treating Ukraine the way he wants the United States to treat Greenland. It's just basically, well, this is always your territory, just take it back. And I'm sure China looks at Taiwan and they look at the United States and Greenland, and they're waiting for the green light to go take Taiwan back. So that could be part of it. Someone in the comments mentioned that, it gives Trump a lot more control over the Northwest Passage, which also makes a lot of sense because since there's so much global warming occurring, the Northwest Passage is a lot more navigable up, towards the Arctic Ocean, and it's a shortcut, especially for the Far East and Russia, to bring goods, across. They don't have to go all the way down to the Panama Canal and through the Panama Canal, so it's a lot faster, and so that could be part of what Trump's up against. Not just the rare earth minerals and other things of value that might be underground in Greenland. But, so now he's interested in the Northwest Passage, he's interested in the Panama Canal. So it seems like he wants to control shipping for some reason. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But let's take a look at the general energy of the relationship between Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, and Donald Trump, who has been convicted of 34 felonies. For entertainment purposes only. Let's see what the cards have to say. What is the relationship? What's the general energy on the relationship between Mark Carney and Trump? Okay, foundation of the reading is the star. So, right now, Mark Carney's the star. Maybe Mark Carney has taken some of that star power away from Trump. And Trump is having to acknowledge that Canada is not embracing his rhetoric, and they're rallying around Carney. And he doesn't want that. He wants Canada to go to the far right. And maybe he's recognizing that that might not happen, and he might need to build fences. Let's keep going. Let's see where this is going. Let's see who the star is. The challenge is the Seven of Wands, defending himself from the high ground. So this right now I'm still thinking this is Carney. And what it is Carney is successfully defending Canada from all the attacks that the United States is putting on them. And what it's doing, it's uniting Canadians in a way they haven't been united in 80 years. They are definitely focused, and they are definitely not happy with Trump and the MAGA policies. Underneath it is the Ten of Swords. They want this to end. They want this toxic relationship to end. Of course, there's two ways that could end, right? You can start getting along, or you can get rid of the thing that's causing the problem. Entertainment purpose only, right? In the past, you got the Chariot. Just this could be the relentless attacks, verbal attacks that Trump was leaning on Canada, making them the 51st state. Could be all the tariffs that Trump has been throwing at the Canadians and claiming victory, and how Canada is going to be paying for all these tariffs, because all the fentanyl that's coming across the border from Canada, which no one's ever talked about ever prior to this. Current situation is the Hierophant. Major institutions, the government. I'm beginning to feel that Trump is seeing a movement in in Canada. So sorry. Trump is seeing a movement in Canada, and he can't bring that movement to an end. And that movement is going to keep the left in power in Canada. We did a reading on Taco Tuesday with Marina, and it seemed like the left was going to remain in power. I threw some cards that I could read both ways, but right now what it's looking like is that this is very favorable for Canada. Overarching energy is the Ace of Wands. Yeah, Canada taking new actions. They're under attack, and they're having to defend against all these attacks, all these tariffs, and all these name calling, and all the typical 10-year-old bullying that Trump likes to do. And they're not going to have it. The lesson to be learned, the Nine of Swords. It's not what they want. I mean, we've been allies for years. They're the friendly neighbors to the north. And they just can't understand why Trump is trying to attack them. But they want it to end. They want this to end. And the only way they're going to get this to end is if they go on the offensive, show them who's boss, and start taking actions to make it end. What's the outcome? Knight of Wands. They're going to take more actions, and their actions are going to move forward. They're basically speak softly, carry a big stick, and we're going to hit you with it if you get in our way. And maybe Trump's starting to realize that Canada's not only not going to back down, but what he's doing is having the opposite effect of what he was expecting it to have. So that's kind of what I got for that. Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary, and this is still not David. Hey, so I was answering the comments before I went to bed, and right now it's about almost 10 o'clock at night. I'm tired, actually. And someone in the comments made the observation that Canada was blocking access to Alaska. I thought, oh, I didn't know that. And I just did a reading on why Trump backed down from his rhetoric against Canada. And so for the very first time, I'm stacking the deck, because what I want to do is recreate the first reading where I was looking at the energy between Carney and Trump and what was going on. Why what was causing Trump to kind of have second thoughts? Because usually he just doubles down, right? And so these are the cards I threw. I've got them in order. And I wanted to see how these cards read compared with this knowledge that Canada's threatening on levying huge taxes on trucking that comes from the United States through Canada to get to Alaska. And so I think what it is they're not necessarily shutting it down, but they're going to make it really cost prohibitive. It's kind of like their own tariff, if you will. Only in this case, the United States will be paying the tariff. Here we go. So the foundation of the reading, I can do this whole reading without looking at the cards because I stacked the deck. The foundation of the reading was the star. In the first reading, I was like, okay, well, I wasn't sure if it was Mark Carney or Trump, but in this case, I was thinking of Mark Carney as the star. He's like, I'm the prime minister, I am the head of Canada. I have things that I can do here. Let me show you my star power. The cross, the challenge was the Seven of Wands, having to defend Canada from all these tariffs and financial attacks and verbal attacks from the United States. The energy underneath this was the Ten of Swords. We want this to end. We want the tariffs. We want the trade wars. We want the fights and battles to end. We need to put a sword in this and stop it. In the past, and this is what really kind of caught my interest when I reviewed the reading, we had the Chariot. The Chariot is about forward movement. This can easily be identified as shipping or trucking because it looks like a big rig. So yeah, in the past you used to be able to drive your big rigs through Canada to supply Alaska. But you know what? The current energy is the Hierophant. I'm the head of this government and I can make my own set of tariffs and laws. And in this case, we're thinking of maybe taxing commerce that comes across the border and has to travel through Canada. The overarching energy is the Ace of Wands. If you don't back down, Trump, I'm going to hit you with my club. This is a new action. We haven't done this before, but we're more than happy to do it just for you because, you're our friend. The lesson to be learned is the Nine of Swords. We could be a headache for you too. We don't have to just roll over and take it and acquiesce. We could be a headache for you as well. And the outcome is the Knight of Wands. Do you want to test us? Would you like us to put these taxes in place? You can drive your trucks up if you want, but we're taking action and you're going to be paying tariffs. And I think that is the main reason why Trump backed down, because he has no answer for that. You can put stuff on a ship, but even a ship has to, for the most part, travel through Canadian waters. It's a very circuitous route, my understanding, to avoid Canadian waters to get to Alaska. And air is probably not practical either. You have to use trucks. And so Canada was well aware of it, and they took full advantage of that. And good for them. So there is a revised reading. I'll try and slip this in somewhere in the video. So if it gets a little choppy and you see me changing outfits, this is why. So anyways, thank you for sticking around for this. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye. So that's the general energy is Canada's they're going forward. You're gonna attack us, we're gonna come back at you. So how's Trump feeling about all this? Guess it should be just the opposite, right? Okay, so why did Trump back down? Or how is Trump feeling about this? What's the energy on Trump here? Okay, Queen of Wands. I've got so many things on my plate. There's so many things, so many actions I want to take. The cross, the challenge is judgment. But all these actions he's taking are getting people to rise up and rally together. But they're not rallying around the MAGA flag. They're rallying around the maple leaf in this case. And in Europe, they're rallying together. Underneath it all, you got the Six of Wands. Trump wants to claim victory. He wants to be the conquering hero. He wants Canada. But his actions are having the opposite effect. They're counterproductive. In the past, the Knight of Pentacles sitting back and making offers. Hey, just become the 51st state. It's in your best interest, blah, 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 blah. I've got lots of money. Come join us. Current energy is the world. The world is watching this. The world is watching what's happening, and they're coming together. They are starting to create force their own stronger alliances and reducing their reliance on the United States. And what this ultimately is going to do is going to make the United States less of the main player. We can't be the big bully in the room because we don't control the room anymore. The overarching energy is the Nine of Wands. I think right now Trump's got too many irons in the fire. He's fighting too many battles, and he's getting older. He can't keep up the pace. How many executive orders can you sign before you have to do a round of golf, right? And speaking of which, J.D. Vance, he's gone on more vacations after 3 months of work than any of us have. How much vacation did you have on your new job after 3 months, right? You might have had a day. That guy's... He disappears, and when he reappears, he's trying to ski on the East Coast, or now he's in Greenland on some boondoggle. What's the lesson to be learned? What is Trump going to learn out of this? It's all about celebrating your victories. I think in this case, what it is the lesson that he's learning is he's got so many battles that are not working out that the world is beginning to celebrate. These are new alliances, new partnerships forming, bringing an end to the old order and celebrating a new order because of your actions are waking people up. I always laugh when that card comes out. What's the outcome for Trump? The Four of Pentacles. What else would it be? It's Trump being the Trumpiest Trump who ever trumped a Trump. He is going to try and hold on to as much resource as he can. I guess the other thing I can say is another reason why he could have backed down, it could be some sort of health-related issue. He doesn't have the energy to fight it. He's got so many other things going on. He's just getting tired. And he can't stay out all night drinking. Remember how we all feel now? Remember when we were in our 20s and 30s? Woohoo! Now it's like, I gotta wake up tomorrow. I can't wake up if I drink all night. And right now he's just conserving his energy. So this card could be multiple things, but for me, this is always Trump. This is always Trump trying to hoard everything for himself. But in this case, I'm not getting that. I'm getting more of a feeling that he doesn't have as much to give. He doesn't have the energy to throw off on this. That is becoming too much. Which is really weird because you're just so used to him doubling down on everything, right? If it's, deny, deflect, and delay. Those are kind of his tactics there. And we're seeing that play out with the whole signal thing, No, there's no signal messages that, they were nothing. It was all sensitive information. It wasn't top secret information. And then they started on, that's, what about Hillary's server? And what about the mission was successful? Blah, blah, blah. Just deflecting everything, right? Just to delay justice that should be coming. Okay, so will the EU learn from this? Will the EU learn from, observe what's going on, that whole Knight of Pentacles, and will they learn from this and be able to leverage this lesson that Canada's showing the world? Okay. Foundation of the reading is the Two of Cups. Building new relationships. Okay, that's very consistent. The Cross is the Tower. The relationships they had with the United States, they thought were on a firm foundation, the whole NATO. And they're realizing that foundation is not as strong as it used to be. It's not as strong as they thought it was. Underneath it is the Six of Wands. This could either be, Trump claiming victory, or that the EU realizing that we need to start forming alliances so that we can be victorious. Because right now we're built, our alliances and our systems, institutions are built on a bad foundation. If that foundation is relying on the United States. In the past, the United States provided all the money. They were the big man in the room. They called the shots. Current energy is the Six of Pentacles. Europe is like, hey, you know what? We don't need to be bowing at the knees of the United States and accepting little coins while they get all the big money. You know, Trump wants even more money, and is, you know, basically saying you're not really paying in your fair share, and if you don't pay in your fair share, I'm going to take more. And this is not just. Overarching energies, Page of Wands, a new message coming out, new messaging coming out from the EU. They're watching. This could be they're watching how Canada brought the United States to its knees, and that could be just desserts. So you know, it's once again, it's the lesson that the EU is learning is that you can take control of this. You know, take care of your own people. And keep the things that you have a value. You don't need to rely on the United States. And maybe that's the message that they're getting from this. There is a way out. And you can be successful without bowing to all the tariff demands. The lesson to be learned, justice. You know, the way Trump is treating Canada, Mexico, the EU, it's not just. And it's time for justice to come through. It's time to do things that's best for you, for European Union. It could also be The Hague, right? Maybe Jack Smith's going to come over and mete out a little justice, and that will solve some of the problems we have. What's the outcome? Temperance. New balance. They've seen the lesson they're learning from this is we're not going to take. The United States doesn't need to be in charge. We can strike a new balance, and that balance is going to be for the European Union and its countries. We don't need to bow to the United States. Okay. So that's the lesson I'm getting out of these cards. Your results may vary, right? So that's where I'm going with this. So I really want to thank you all for joining me on this adventure. Dave and I, like I said, we'll be reading tomorrow. I just don't know if I'll be going over there or if we're going to do this over the internet like we sometimes do. But what I want to do that no other Twin Tarot channel with not David does is give a couple of shout outs. So these are for folks that have been in the comments. Folks that, like David and I, watched a lot of Romp Room and never had our names called. It's just the injustice of it all, right? So the first shout out I want to give is it's actually a dual shout out to Passion Bow and Vicky Halbison. So they're both Vickies, and neither was I don't think either was shouted out on Romp Room there, but they're both in the comments. I really appreciate both of you. And the card is, you've got the Six of Wands, the victory card, followed up by the Justice card. So yes, you've finally gotten your shout out. So you're victorious and justice has finally been served, right? I want to give a shout out to Catherine Beebe, who she never got a shout out from Romp Room. And I'm actually surprised, because I would have thought a name like Catherine stood a chance at least, right? But Catherine didn't get a shout out, so we're going to give you one, because we're better than Romp Room, right? Not David? He's a man of few words, fewer actions. So, Catherine, your card is the Four of Wands. Let's celebrate there. Yoo-hoo! And then Kimberly Anderle, 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 Kimberly. Okay, Kimberly, I'm going to give you a little shout out too. Thank you for being in the comments. And your card is the Two of Pentacles. Striking that balance. I'm not exactly sure which is the correct way to pronounce your last name. Forgive me if I butchered it. It happens. And then the last shout out I want to give today, actually I want to give out two. One is to Lisette777, who actually pulled a secret card for me. And she gave me the Hierophant. And she goes, hey, where's my secret card? It's like, yeah, that's fair. You pulled one for me. I could pull one for you. Oh, if you get the fan favorite, so Lisette, you get the Five of Wands, the Hillbilly Brawl card. Pretty soon everyone's going to be fighting over throwing cards for me so I can give secret cards to them. Okay, thank you, Lisette. I really appreciate that. And then the last one, reaching out once again to Robin Davis, who made a very thoughtful contribution to the channel. But Robin, it was very interesting. Her comment was, shout out to Wilma Rowe. I'm not sure who Wilma Rowe is, but what the heck, Robin Davis, here's your shout out to Wilma Rowe. And it is the Three of Cups. I guess you guys would be celebrating at the bar after. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate you. And a secret card to send us all off to Happy Land. The King of Cups, the master of our emotions. Let's not get over the top here. There is a lot of crap going on right now. And I understand it is tough times. The threats to Social Security, the threats to Medicare, the people losing jobs, inflationary forces because of all these tariffs. There's a lot of really tragically horrible things going on right now, creating a lot of anxiety. So let's do our best to take a deep breath, count to 10. We'll get through this. It's going to be hard, but we're going to get through this. Everything is working the way it's supposed to. Thanks, huh? Hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye.